What have you seen be the main reasons why real estate agents want to switch brokerages?
I think mainly there's kind of two different reasons why an agent would switch a brokerage. One is compensation model. I know a lot of people would just simply think commissions, but I think if they're limiting their reason for making a switch of a brokerage for just the commission split, that's
Mm,
very nearsighted and a faulty way to go about it. So it should be the overall compensation package, or it has to do with training, leveraging what the brokerage offers in terms of tools, technology, or support. I think that's really the only reasons why someone would make a switch, unless there's, in a general sense, there are some cases where a company's closing down. It's going from an independent to a franchise. There are some
mm.
very, niche down reasons why someone would want to make a move, but I think in the more general sense, those are the reasons.
Like, first of all, like, what do you think about when you think about support? And then what have you found that real estate agents want when it comes to support?
It's actually a really great question because I think that a lot of agents don't leverage the support that they have. There are a lot of setups with different companies where you can, you know, jump on a phone call with someone, go and see them in the office. I think what a lot of agents do is they start to, in a lot of cases, maybe not feel like they're hitting their goals. They may not feel like they're progressing in any way, shape, and form. And I know one of the main things that agents do when they start to have that feeling is they actually retract. So instead of going and seeking the support they have in front of them, sales manager, broker, someone that can help them, maybe a coach, they tend to retract from them.
Mm,
So they actually don't leverage the support that they have in front of them. I think one of the biggest changes now that I think agents are looking for when they look for support in a healthy way, which is they leverage the support, they know how to access it, but they're looking for something different, is how accessible is that support when I'm not physically in an office location? Right?
mm,
Is there a way for me to leverage my cell phone and get the same level of support as if I was belly to belly with my broker, as an example? And
hmm
so those are the ways in which I think a lot of agents now are analyzing the support they have in front of them. And those are the healthy ways. But I think a lot of agents are actually looking for support, not because they're looking for support. It's that they've retracted from the support that they have. And that's one easy thing to blame. And now I'm going to go make a
mm,
move because if I make a move, that small little window of time when I've made my new move, I'm energized again. I'm re excited about my own goals. And oh, look how amazing this support is because it's in front of me and I'm ready to actually use it now.
mm,
So I think that when it comes to support, are there variations amongst brokerages? Absolutely. Okay, just because a broker is willing to help you doesn't mean that they're really optimized to give you the help and support that you want. For example, someone hasn't sold real estate in decades. They may not know or understand what you're going through in this market. If they're still trying to guide you through scripts that have been, literally mocked at this point because they're so old and out of touch, that may not be the support that you need. So there are levels of support, don't get me wrong. But
mm,
what I find a lot of times is that when agents start to feel like they're not getting what they're looking for in terms of results, they
mhm.
tend to retract from the support instead of actually go forward towards it.
In your opinion, like what's the best type of support for that agent that's closing like 5, 10 years and they're trying to double, production?
Yeah,
Hmm
a great question. So I think for an agent, still trying to crack into like the six-figure mark, right? Because
hmm
5 deals, depending on where you are in the world or in the country, you're probably not at six figures at that point. I think there's a couple of things that they're looking for in terms of support and or training. Number one, they are looking for a training program, or they should be, that's going to go to the fundamentals in terms of running a real estate business instead of just playing real estate. Okay. This is
mm,
where we're looking at processes and systems and full on sales approaches or cycles. So that way they're not out there just kind of winging it or looking at sales as like an event. If their selling has become a process, now they're in a position where they're actually starting to run a business. So those are the
Mm,
kind of trainings that they should be looking for.
mhm,
And when it comes to support, they're probably looking for the broker or someone that can be of service to them, that can take that phone call maybe beyond the 9 to 5 hours and on weekends, where, because I get these often, and it's like, okay, Joe, I'm writing an offer for my client, and the agent just, I reached out to them and they have like 9 offers. What should I do? Or we're in the middle of negotiating requests for repairs and this issue came up. What should I do?
mm,
A lot of agents are looking for, in that range of transactional volume, when they're really feeling that level of insecurity and like it's really really urgent, they're looking for support there.
mm,
Rightfully so. So they're looking for someone who's willing to engage with them and kind of settle them down, understand where they're at, to help them to start thinking through, why are we here and what are some of the different options in terms of solution.
mm,
So, again, if a broker is going to be a 9 to 5 and you have to go into the office, well, if you're at Starbucks with your client or they're about to meet you in an hour at Starbucks, and you need something now, those kinds of really basic ways to get support may not really be helpful. So they're
mhm.
looking for someone who can really guide them through the transaction. And again, in ways in which are going to be valuable to them in terms of, how do I get this support?
Yeah, it's so interesting how like real estate agents, I know one of the reasons why some individuals become real estate agents and overall just want to be entrepreneurs is for that like freedom. Like I don't
Yes.
have somebody telling me what to do and
Right.
stuff like that. Then it's interesting because then they get into the industry and they're like, I want somebody to tell me what to do. Like, yeah, I
In
want
some
somebody to,
ways.
yeah. And so it seems like there's like an accountability aspect to the support. They're like, I want somebody to hold me accountable for my actions. I know on the training side.
It's
Um,
interesting you talk about accountability, Cameron, because
mm,
I think agents do want accountability. They want it in a way that doesn't seem overbearing.
mhm,
And they also want accountability that even when they're trying to skip out on accountability, they're called back to the carpet.
mm,
So it's a really interesting dynamic that we're working with a lot of agents, but when you think about the person who's closing a couple of deals, maybe up to 8, 9 deals a year, and really wants to crack into the consistent 6-figure income, they're looking at building out systems, processes, consistency with different lead generation systems, and they need accountability around those areas.
mhm,
It's really easy to get into planning mode and then never actually get into implementation. If you
mhm,
have all of these different ways in which you plan to go or strategize around you're going to get business, but you've never integrated them, they're all just really good ideas. So there is a level of accountability there that I think is necessary. A
mhm,
lot of people don't come from one 1099 independent contractor role into real estate. The majority of people come from a W-2 or some
mhm,
kind of situation where they had a boss, right?
mhm,
And we want that freedom until we don't know how to handle that freedom. Then we
mm,
don't want all the freedom. We just want enough freedom. At
mhm.
least the ones who want to be successful, because they know that complete lack of accountability to anyone, including themselves, is where people very quickly falter. Because when things
Mm.
get tough, it's just so easy to not do anything anymore.
Yeah. When it comes to, and I know training is very synonymous to support,
Mhm.
but what do you think is like the best like training methodology like for that type of real estate agent for the again like the agent that they're getting things going, transaction here, transaction there, they're starting to they're starting to build momentum for the real estate business. What do you think is like the best training methodology to really excel their really improve their skills so then their business accelerates?
Great question. Okay, so the best kind of training out there, in my opinion, is going to be coming from like a coach or a trainer with the mentality that I'm going to teach this person to never need me again.
Mm,
I urge agents, and I think people across the world, if you're going to go and engage with a coach, especially on a subscription based model, be very cautious if their approach is, I'm going to teach you how to become addicted to me, or I'm going to teach you
mm,
how to be subservient to me. I'm going to teach you how to be on my team for the rest of your career.
hmm
Be very careful of that. I think ideally you want to engage with someone whose entire purpose behind coaching or training is, I'm going to make you need nobody in the
hmm
future. So let me
mm,
pour into you so that you're independent, strong, and solid on your own. Okay. So look for that first. As far as the type of training program, I love working with agents that I train, and I think a lot of great trainers out there that can really move the handle for somebody is someone who's a practitioner. They're in it now. I'm still selling
mm,
real estate. I'm never
hmm
going to stop. The reason why I am comfortable and confident with how I train agents is because I'm in the trenches. I know
mm,
what we're dealing with in this market. I know how AI has changed the game and how different marketing strategies work versus how others don't anymore, and how, a certain approach in scripting is so old hat that all the consumers already know about it. I'm in the trench with them, so I know and see what's happening in real time and can teach them accordingly because of that. So I think that's key.
mm,
I also think it's really tough to find a really good salesperson who's also a really good trainer or coach. They're not the same
mm,
skill set. So many people are
hmm
like, well, I'm going to go train with this guy because he kills it, or this gal, she's doing 1 million transactions. That's awesome. And clearly, they are uber successful and deserve all of the credit for what they're doing in that format.
hmm
But to assume that they know how to teach, train, educate, have the patience for it at any level, that's a totally different skill set altogether.
hmm
So you're looking for that person who is successful selling now, that is successful teaching and training as well.
hmm
Okay. So not a huge pull there.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think that's really important when it comes to like training, support, that kind of thing is having multiple people available to you, having many mentors. I think that it's really great when you can work with different people that really niche down and specialize in exactly what they're doing, so that if in your business plan you have, call it, 6 different ways in which you're committed to building your business, your SOI, open house, cold calling, whatever it is, and then get to coach with people who are completely niched down in each of those areas, now you're training with specialists.
hmm
Okay. That is the most impactful.
hmm
You can really find more than one mentor that can really help you to niche down and specialize in each specific area that's key to you and your business.
hmm
Then
Yeah.
finally, in my opinion, Cameron, you're also looking for a scalability of training and coaching. Okay. Or support even. Thinking that there's one person for you for the rest of your career is highly unlikely. Okay.
hmm
So, what if you could find, though, a brokerage, a situation, whatever it is, where the idea is for you to grow and scale? And as you continue to do so, there are new specialists to help you along that journey and path.
mm
That's what I think people really should be looking for, the next evolution of, if I'm going to move brokerages or whatever it is, I think that's what they need to be looking for, instead of like, oh, this one program, or oh, this one coach. Look for if that overall system has progression to it.
Mm.
So, in my opinion,
Mm.
again, it starts with, are they trying to approach you with the mentality that they're going to make you independent, solid, and strong so you never need them again? I find that to be one of the most important fundamentals of if I want to learn from somebody. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the three pieces within there is, are they up to date on what they're doing? Meaning, do they sell real estate now? Are they practitioners and still having success? Okay. So that's
Mm-hmm.
number one. The second one is, are there other people around that can help me to specialize, really get granular on how they're doing that one thing above all else? And then
Mm-hmm.
third, does this system, does this program have a scale to it? So as I grow and go from just trying to crack into six figures and now I'm making six figures consistently and I want to start building a team. Can someone help me start to build a team? Can someone start to help me grow and scale into other markets as a team leader? I think those are the ideal scenarios if you can engage with coaching, support, and a training platform that offers that.
Mm-hmm.
That is the evolution in our business. Cameron, I'm going to address something real quick because I find this to be still to this day a conundrum for agents. I
Yeah.
know of agents to this day that are buying the idea that leads are an important factor in them making a move to a brokerage.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of agents don't understand that you don't need more leads for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone can get you leads. What I think people really need to focus on, and this comes back to training and support, is how do you convert those leads? Do you have a follow up mechanism that is long enough and consistent enough to turn those leads into actual business? Because I see people bamboozled all the time. Well, I'm going to go join this team because they're going to give me leads. I'm going to go to this brokerage because they're going to give me leads. Listen, anyone can say that. And I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of brokers and people who are recruiters, agents, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. So be
Mm-hmm.
careful of what you're asking for because leads are easy. I could literally hand someone 5,000 leads right now. Any agents out there, you want leads? Come over here. I'll give you 5,000 right now. And I'm being
Mm-hmm.
facetious because don't come here for that. Don't work with anyone for that simple reason because although what I'm saying is true, I have 5,000 leads I can deploy to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Can't handle that number if you don't know how to properly follow up with them and are willing to do the work consistently to convert them. You just made an entire move to a brokerage for an arbitrary number of a bunch of names and phone numbers. And again, I have those leads.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that to where real estate agents go over to a brokerage because they think that leads is the not having enough leads is the problem. And then once they get into that brokerage, they realize like, oh, the leads that we were talking about is a list of expireds that you can call. And it's like, wait a second. That's not that's not what I
And
that's not yeah.
this is what I mean by looking for the proper training or support. We have dedicated coaches, for example, with the agents that I work with, that their main focus is, and again, this is coming from that mentality of I'm going to make sure you never need me again. We don't
Mm-hmm.
give them fish. We're teaching them how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
So we're showing them how simple it is for them to get 5,000 leads because it's not a hard thing. But even
Mm-hmm.
before then, we're showing them what are the processes and systems that you need in your business. And do you have a consistency around a communication plan? Once you have that going, now you can start generating leads because all the leads you generated before that are worthless because you don't know how to engage with them or convert them.
Mm-hmm.
So once we got that system down, now we start going into the lead generation process. Now we're teaching you that you never need to move another brokerage or look for a team leader. There's nothing wrong with being on a team, by the way. But if you're going to go into a team simply because of leads, in my perspective, they sold you what you asked for. And again, be careful
Mm-hmm.
what you ask for because you never need someone else for leads. If you're
Mm-hmm.
taught how to do lead generation, leads are easy.
Mm-hmm.
Having the number of leads is not the name of the game. It's what are you earning in GCI every year?
Mm-hmm.
And is that leading to the life that you want? Are you doing it with a number of hours work that makes sense for you over the long haul? And if that's all good and you're ready to start scaling, great. What are the systems in your business that can start to have tweaks in it so you can start to scale? Again, this is the right kind of training and coaching. But I
Hmm.
really, really get concerned with agents who, especially if they're doing a couple of deals a year, they're doing something right. A sheer number of more leads is not going to move the ball forward for them in a way that they think it is.
Well, let me ask this question. Why doesn't every agent, like every agent is moving brokerages for the reason of wanting to, I'm assuming it's wanting to make more money. And so it's like, why doesn't every agent just move over to the flat fee model then? To where it's like you're only paying $500, $1,000.
Yep. All right. Great question. So, commissions are not that simple. I wish they were. All right.
Hmm.
Again, let me break it down this way. The old model of real estate is kind of like the broker centric model. Okay. That's going to be usually higher splits if it's a franchise fees, right? And the old idea then is like being a part of this brokerage will automatically produce you more business or allow you to make more income. Okay. Because the
Hmm.
brand name or what have you, the brokerage is the driver,
Hmm.
their brand. What we're currently working with now is, in the first transition was the agent centric model. Okay. This is all about the agent and their branding, and they are the reason why consumers work with them, not the brokerage, but the individual agent. This is where we really started to see a shift in like, well, if it's not about the brand and, the sign that's above the door bringing in the business, well, then why don't I, as the individual agent, make more money? If my brand is bringing the commissions, I should make more. So that's where we
Hmm.
start to see that shift in commissions. And I think that was a good thing. I am a believer in the fact that people do business with me because of me. And if there was a different sign above my door or above my name, it wouldn't matter to them. It matters that they're working with
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
So I liked how we shifted there. And then now what we're seeing in the real estate industry is this complete change, like non-linear from there, in an agent ownership model of real estate brokerages.
Hmm.
Now, what you said would make sense if we were talking about the original lineage or linear approach to how commissions are going from way more to the brokerage because of the value they add to way less to the brokerage because it's all about the agent. But when you
Hmm.
talk about an agent ownership model, that completely changes the game, because in the original two models, it was all about your money is directly tied to how many deals you close,
Hmm.
and you're only as good as your last commission. That's it.
Hmm.
Okay. The agent ownership type of models that we're seeing now in the industry really focus on how do we allow an agent to have something more than just their commissions when they're done with their career. That's about as
Hmm.
simple as a shift as I can explain it. So
Hmm.
that way, when a real estate agent's career is over, it's not like, man, let's hope I sell a $10 million one before I'm out of here, because that's the end. Like, my career is only as good as me selling. That's it. The
Hmm.
agent ownership model is really looking at ways in which they can incentivize agents over the long haul of their career so that they have other assets by the time that they're done. So even though
Hmm.
an agent's ready to retire, there's an actual retirement plan built in to the entire career that they were with that company. Some of them come in the form of stock. Some of them come in the form of, if an agent helps build the brokerage in terms of agent count, like helping that company with growth, that they'll be compensated.
Hmm.
And those are
Hmm.
really powerful ways that an agent can go about their real estate career, right? And this is where people get sideways with this model. They go, oh, I get it. We're just going to all be recruiters now. No, that's nonsense, because that doesn't work for the most part. Agents
Hmm.
want to sell real estate, but if you can sell real estate and start to build, literally an equity position in the brokerage because you sold more real estate, well, that's a good thing. And it's going to
Hmm.
incentivize you to sell more real estate. And if you're selling more real estate and doing a good job out there building relationships with your other colleagues, it's more likely that you will attract them to the brokerage and help that brokerage with growth. Well, what that all means is, synergistically, if you're out there selling more real estate, you're going to have something in the future that's far superior to a flat fee every time you sold a deal.
Do brokerages offer health insurance?
Great question. And the answer is yes. Not
Mm,
all,
they do?
not all. I know some of the agent ownership models do offer health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
EXP being one of them. There's a newer one, Epic. I don't know about Real, apologies, but I know that some of these agent ownership models do have healthcare as one of the main drivers of support for their agents as far as like their
Mm,
benefit package. Yep.
mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
it works in different ways, right? Like, for example, with EXP Realty, their health plans are pretty incredible and they are unique to EXP Realty, but they
Mm,
obviously come at a cost because there's different approaches that you can have. You can
mm,
have it where you're going to have just catastrophic insurance, or you can have it where you're going to do a health share plan, or you can do it where it's more of like your normal premium type of insurance. But you, as the agent, get to decide. And in any one of those scenarios, it's significantly less than if you
mm.
were going to go on the open market and get that by yourself.
Yeah.
I happen to know this firsthand because this is how me and my family have health insurance.
Mm. Yeah, because I was gonna ask like what would be the alternative if a brokerage doesn't provide like if I'm at a whatever brokerage, ABC brokerage, and they don't
Yeah.
provide health insurance, like is there a way as a 1099 employee to get insurance?
Yeah, I think there's like really one of two ways. Ready? Number one,
Hmm.
I hope your
Hmm.
spouse works for someone that offers benefits.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And then even if you're crushing it in real estate, I've seen a lot of families keep that spouse in their career
Hmm.
for that benefit alone, even if
Mm.
they're crushing it, right? And that
Hmm.
sucks. If you have the amount of success and that person wants to do something different or be set free from that career,
Hmm.
that's a big expense to take on, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second one would be like the government market that they've provided,
Mm.
your Obamacare.
Mm.
I know it has a better name to it, but I don't recall what it is.
Hmm.
um but that healthcare plan that's available to anyone, you don't have to be employed, where you can go into the open market and receive health benefits. But
Hmm.
again, the brokerages that offer healthcare plans tend to be significantly less than what you would get on those open market plans, and they tend to be far superior to those plans.
Kind of like moving over to the process of actually switching brokerages. Like what would you say the first step of that is?
Oh yeah, changing companies super easy, to
Hmm.
be honest with you. Um, I mean, we can break down like the skeleton of it and then we can add in more. But really
Hmm.
it's this. You probably interview a few brokerages of what you think might work for you.
Hmm.
You make a decision after you've done some interviews. Then you're going to go back to that brokerage and essentially start working through the independent contractor agreement, also known as the ICA, get that signed.
Hmm. Hmm.
Usually, right then and there, or at some point thereafter, they're going to ask you to go in and initiate the change of your real estate license. And I know for California, like we would go into the Department of Real Estate website and we ourselves would initiate that change saying, I'm no longer with ABC brokerage. I'm making a move to XYZ brokerage. So
Mm.
we have the ability to initiate that change. The broker you're going to would approve that change, and voila, you are now officially transferred over as far as your license goes to another company. There's a last step in that for some, and that would be to inform your previous brokerage that you are in fact moving on. And
Yeah.
and I say that last one there, it doesn't even have to be last. Some people say that first. There's a
Hmm.
whole lot of different ways that you can approach that. Some people don't do it at all. The broker at some point
Oh
will
gosh.
receive in the mail that you've moved on. Okay.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
To each
That's
their
insane.
own. There might be reasons why you don't do
That's
that, but I
yeah.
always think it's probably better to not burn a bridge.
Yeah, 100%. That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's like I was gonna say that's like it's like dating somebody and then you see them in the mall and you're like, Wait, what happened?"
Oh, we broke up last week. Well, thanks for letting me
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, because speaking of the current brokers, like so like would you so interesting. So would you save that conversation? So say, obviously you are switching brokerages. Would you save that conversation for when you actually make the switch and signed everything and then you go to your current managing broker and you're like, hey, look, things weren't working out? Or would you talk to your broker first and be like, I'm considering switching and, just I really don't believe things are working out. I'm just starting the process right now.
There's kind of two important schools of thought on this, and I'm not suggesting one's right or wrong, but they are different. Okay.
Mm, mm-hmm,
It could make a lot of sense to talk to your current brokerage. Okay, let me frame this correctly. If you are looking at strictly commissions, okay, and I don't think that that's ideal, but if that's what your
mm-hmm,
game is, it might make sense to go, well, hey, broker, I just talked to ABC company over here, and they're offering me X, Y, and Z. That may
mm-hmm,
cause your broker to go, well, hey, well, now that you brought it up, we'd be willing to do this, that, and the other for you. Okay.
mm-hmm,
That
mm-hmm,
could help in terms of an agent negotiating, their splits and fees and split. I'm sorry, their splits and fees with a brokerage. But again, if you're not working within an agent ownership model, it may not allow you to really compare apples to apples either. Okay. So
mm-hmm,
if you're going from a flat fee brokerage, a franchise model to agent ownership model, they could probably do a lot to literally say, well, we won't charge you a penny for anything anymore. And then the agent ownership model is probably still a better compensation plan,
mm.
just simply said. Now,
Yeah.
um, the other thing that could be interesting though for a lot of agents is they don't want to go and talk to their broker about any of these things for a few reasons. One of them could be they know they're not going to get what they're looking for at that company.
Mm,
Maybe they don't offer the amount of technology that they need. Maybe they don't have the, asynchronous support or training that they want. They have to show up to the office every Tuesday at 8 a.m. or else they don't get it.
mm-hmm,
And if they know they're not going to get what they're looking for, they may not want to go and have that very uncomfortable conversation. I understand that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
The one thing that's really interesting though is, and I want agents to understand this, if you could go and talk to five other brokerages and someone gives you a better split or fee structure, and you go to your current brokerage and renegotiate with them, aren't you
mm-hmm,
frustrated?
mm,
And
mm-hmm.
and this is the reason why I ask. That means they could have offered that to you a long time ago.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, you and it what makes me nuts so often is agents are, but I love my broker, I love my brokerage, and then they go through this situation of maybe looking at other companies, and then they'll let someone know, like, well, I'm actually going to stay with my company because once I told them what I was getting, oh, they readjusted everything and made me an offer I can't refuse. No, they're giving
Mm,
you an offer that they didn't offer you before, but you love
mm-hmm,
them, like.
mm-hmm,
I find it really interesting sometimes when agents have loyalty in places where I think they're a little misguided.
mm,
As a
mm-hmm,
real estate professional, why do you run your business? Is it to make friends? Is it to be loved and adored by your broker? Or is it to support
mm-hmm.
your family? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not suggesting that you should have one answer or the other, but if you know the answer, well then why are your loyalties kind of misaligned with the purpose behind you being in business?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, the final thing that I'll say when it comes to like having that conversation with the broker though, my personal opinion around that is have the conversation with the broker. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be upfront. It could be afterwards, but I do find a lot of value in having that ability to have a one-off conversation with somebody. And it doesn't have to be painstaking. And I will tell you, for a lot of agents who are worried about that kind of conversation, doing it after the fact, if you know you're going to make that move like I talked about, it makes it a lot easier because now it's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, listen, I'm coming to talk to you today because I am moving on. And I want you to
Yeah.
know as we engage in this conversation that the decision's made and I've already initiated the change. But the reason I'm here today is because I respect you. I didn't want to come here and try and hash out and renegotiate. I know what I'm
Hmm.
looking for and I found it. And I want you to know that, I've respected my time here. I appreciate what you've poured into me, whatever is authentic and true. Trust
Hmm.
me, a broker, a former office manager, they will greatly appreciate that dialogue. And keep this in mind, a real estate brokerage is not your spouse. You may go to the new
Hmm.
company and everything they promised were a bunch of leads that you asked for. And guess what? They're terrible. Okay,
Hmm.
well, it's not hard to come back to where you were. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So don't
Hmm.
burn bridges is ultimately my perspective around having a conversation with a broker.
Yeah, 100%. What happens when I were to switch a brokerage and then all the leads that I generated with this current brokerage, what happens to them?
It's a great question. Okay, so this is where an agent needs to know what they're signing in their independent contractor agreement.
Mm.
Their ICA has a lot of really key information in it. And
Mm.
most ICAs that I've seen as of late identifies what happens with a database. Now, a lot of brokerages are using third party companies, so they may not even be able to control what's in that database. But a lot of real estate brokerages in the ICA will identify, should you leave, a lot of the data in your database or a lot of the contacts in there, if not
Hmm.
all, are ours. Now, does that mean you can't take them with you? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Hmm.
And what I often tell agents, and this is going back to like the process,
Hmm.
before you make any moves, one of the most important things that you can do is make yourself whole. And your
Hmm.
database is one of the most important areas there. Make
Hmm.
sure you have your database intact. Make sure you have whatever information that you need. Because once you initiate a change or a broker becomes aware, if any of those systems or access to that information shuts down, you're
Hmm.
stuck.
Hmm.
You're stuck. So most brokerages will identify in an ICA that the database ultimately will be theirs if you leave. Now,
Hmm.
if it's a third party company, most of them will let you download your database. Cool, download it. There are even
Hmm.
some CRMs like the one that I use. If I wanted to, I can go in there, download my entire database to a CSV file, and then
Hmm.
I can go out in there and delete the contacts. Now, the question will become, are they truly deleted? There's no way I can know that. I don't own that CRM company, but at
Yeah.
least they allow the option. There are other companies and a lot of company owned CRMs. You can't delete anyone ever.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, so to get a step further, like what happens to my escrow? Like if I have an escrow going, but I'm just like not satisfied with the current broker that I'm at,
Yeah.
current brokerage that I'm at, and I'm trying to switch, like would you advise switching in the middle of that escrow or like would you wait till that escrow is done or like how would you handle that?
This is a really big question I get so often. And for whatever reason, agents are always so scared to move brokerages mid transaction. But here's the thing, if you couldn't move brokerages until you didn't have a transaction, like no one would ever move because you should always have something in the
Mm.
pipeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's how this traditionally works. When it comes to listings, okay,
Mm-hmm.
listings that are still active and not under escrow or under contract and in escrow, most brokerages would sign off that they will allow you to transfer them to the new company because they're not under contract yet.
Mm.
Any listings that are under contract, traditionally, a brokerage will allow you and the company you're going to will both allow you to finish out the sale of that property under the old brokerage and you get paid what you normally got paid by that previous company. At least this is true in California, could be different in other states.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most buyers that you're working with, very similar scenario. If you signed a buyer broker agreement with a buyer
Mm-hmm.
that is not in escrow, most brokerages will say, the clean split is if you're not under contract, I'm going to allow you to assign them to the new company. But if you have a buyer in escrow, they'll say, it makes sense. And we would appreciate you closing that business out here since
Mm.
that transaction was written under that brokerage, right? It all makes
Yeah.
sense.
Hmm.
And again, most brokerages that you're leaving and brokerages that you're going to would agree that you can finish out that transaction through that previous brokerage and get paid by them what you normally would have been paid.
Hmm.
Now, so I guess the short answer to your question is agents, when it's time for you to make a move, make your move. Make sure you
Hmm.
understand the dynamics, but don't let anyone ever attach a ball and chain around your ankle because you
Hmm.
have deals going on.
Yeah.
That just should never be the case.
Hmm.
Again, it's state specific. There are some brokerages out there, man, that ICA is a huge ball and chain. And in those very specific situations, know what you signed. But if it's not one of those really overbearing ICAs, then make your move when it's time to make your move.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense. Um, okay, so let's assume that the agent, did all their due diligence when it came to, switching brokerages, and they are now at that new brokerage.
Mhm.
Would you suggest something to do at that new brokerage? Like, yeah, would you suggest like a game plan coming in with this new brokerage?
Yeah, that's a great question, Cameron. And I think that yes, and I think that would actually start before making your transition. So,
Mm,
for example, intentions for leaving a brokerage or making a change. Okay, I think two things are key. Number one, go have a real conversation with yourself in the mirror. Are you making a move because you're looking for someone else to blame? And if the answer is yes,
mhm,
I don't care what company you go to or how many times you change, you're always going to be chasing yourself. Okay.
mhm,
So if that's your reason for changing, maybe stick it out, make that shift first and foremost, and then be in a different place or have a different purpose for moving.
mhm,
The second thing is a business plan. Do or know your business plan extremely well. Okay. Because I think that would really be the conduit to knowing why you're even making a move to another company. And it should really be in alignment with what your business model and business plan is. Okay.
mhm, mhm,
When you make that full transition to the new brokerage, plug in. Plug in. A lot of companies out there have a lot of great tools and systems and trainings and a lot of good things out there. None of them are worth a darn unless you actually use them. So plug in. Take the first 2 weeks of being at that new company and time block, really getting entrenched with the systems, the tools, the ways in which to collaborate, the masterminds. So that way you can really be resourceful. It doesn't mean you have to plug your calendar ongoing for the rest of your life around meetings, but at
mhm.
least you know where they're at when you need them.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can really start to tailor it down because you know firsthand, is this a valuable meeting? Is this
Mhm,
a mastermind that's in line with my business plan? Now you can start to taper it back, but at least you know the full board of opportunity and availability to you. And
mhm.
that's where a lot of agents, I think, make their move to begin with because they didn't know the training and support they had. Then they come to the new brokerage and start making the same mistakes.
Is there anything like marketing or brand wise that you do to, you have this new logo, you have this new thing. Do you do anything to then like market to your database or market to the area that you're marketing to?
So, Cameron, I think that whenever an agent has some announcement that can be a spark in their marketing, they should go full bore on it.
Hmm.
Yes, it likely will mean new signage. It likely will mean new business cards, but it's also a great way to re-engage with your sphere of influence. That
Hmm.
entire database, it's a new reason to contact them. And specifically, if there were reasons that are important to your clients as to why you made the change,
Hmm.
that's what you lead with. I made this change over here that I'm really excited about, and what it means for you is X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think
Hmm.
that any agent who's making a change should leverage it. They don't have to. Some people, for whatever reason, want to really, hide changes. I don't think that that's something that would be important unless you're jumping brokerages, 4 times a year. Some people might
Hmm.
to see that in a different light, but most agents don't make. a lot of changes. And again, when you make that transition and it's another reason to have a valuable communication with your database, leverage
Hmm.
it, put it on social, get new signage. In my opinion, go get a new headshot too. Like just
Hmm.
triple down on the fact that the best time to make change is when change is happening.
Yeah, so I wanna actually like read a couple of these like questions regarding switching brokerages just from like forums and like Facebook groups and stuff like that. And
Let's do it.
so, yeah, and just like you could just give me your feedback on it or just give me your opinion on it. So it says, "Hi everyone, how do you go about switching brokerages? I'm currently an agent and have a great mentor and all, but it's been 6 months and I still haven't made any sales despite holding open houses every weekend, posting on socials, cold calling, and other things. The only reason I chose Brokerage X, I don't want to say like the name of their company. The only reason why I chose Brokerage X at the time is because my schedule didn't allow me to come into the office. But now, since I'm more flexible this year, I really desire that face-to-face interaction. Has anyone
Interesting.
here switched brokerages and it been successful, or how was your experience with that? Thanks.
Okay, so I'm hearing two different things in that post. On one level, I'm freaking out because I'm not closing deals.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, I'm hearing I want personal engagement for whatever reason. Okay.
Mm,
I'm not suggesting that one's right or wrong. But if it were the, hey, I'm not closing deals, all right,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
despite that I'm doing all these things, I don't think this means moving brokerages. I think that means sitting down with a great mentor, and maybe their mentor is great. They said they really like them.
Mm-hmm.
That person needs a business diagnostic because
Mm,
that's the same conversation as someone coming to me and saying, "Oh, I've done door knocking before, it doesn't work."
mm-hmm.
Really? "Oh, I've done cold calling, it does. I've done mailers, it doesn't work." Everything works.
Mm-hmm.
Everything works if you work it. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then, like, if a mailing piece didn't work, well, then why don't you optimize or make better what that mailing piece is to get better engagement? If you're
Mm-hmm.
knocking a bunch of doors and not getting anywhere, what are you saying at the door? What is your follow up at it? So on that side of it, I feel like there is a more important conversation, which is a business diagnostic, not
Mm,
moving brokerages. On
mm,
the side of having what sounds like maybe a more virtual brokerage and they want to be in the office.
mm-hmm.
Okay, my question would be, what are you going to get from being at the office? Because one thing that I
Mm.
worry about for a lot of agents, um, they move to a brick and mortar, and people who are even out of brick and mortar, it's not full of people all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's barely anybody there unless there's a training or something.
All right, so think about this. And again, I am an advocate, by the way, of the agent ownership model. When
Mm-hmm.
you have other agents that have a vested interest in your well-being and your growth and your productivity, then
Mm-hmm.
synergistically people will surround you and try to make you better, because there is paralleled goals there. In
Mm-hmm.
the old model where it's dog eat dog, I'm an agent, you're an agent. What do I benefit from you winning? I could care less.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an office environment with that, I don't care how people are as far as like being friendly to you. Why are they going to teach you, a competitor in their market, to be better?
Mm,
Unless it's your mentor, maybe, and there's a compensation around that. But if you want to go in the office, there's kind of two different things that you're going to find. Number one, the rock star agents that are crushing, that have valuable information, they may not want to share it with you. The other
mm-hmm.
agents who aren't doing a darn thing and they're in the business to make friends, that's who you're going to be around. I don't know that either one of those is valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, before I just make it sound like I'm just crapping on the idea of being in an office,
Yeah.
some people learn different, right? I am a
Mm-hmm.
professor at Mount Sac for real estate. I know that there's a lot of different like modalities available to people to engage with learning. And some people learn a lot better when they are face to face, voice to voice, belly to belly,
Mm-hmm.
versus learning, in an asynchronous way for whatever reason. So I could see how that could be a very valid reason, but without knowing a little further, I just want to make sure if it's a newer agent who's not doing deals, they may not know what they may not know. And that's a really
Mm-hmm.
big challenge out there for a lot of people trying to make these decisions. I
the
like
other
this,
one.
man. It's like the hot seat right here. This is
Yeah.
fun. Let's fire away.
So this one's a quick one. So the person wrote, does anyone have experience switching realtor brokerages? Is it a hassle or is it a quick and easy process?
Great question. In my experience, a proper change because you are a business, you have marketing, you're learning new systems and likely getting different technologies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of an overhaul. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It's an overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a very good thing, though, right? But
Mm-hmm.
usually making that transition is one that takes some effort. It's like moving. Okay, we're real estate agents. I think most of us in the business hate moving. We know what that looks like. Not only getting all your stuff from one house to another, then you got to change mailing address. Make sure all of the, your Spectrum accounts and all your other accounts know that you moved. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's on that level. You're moving
Yeah.
companies. You're running a business under a different brokerage. So yeah, there's a process to it, most certainly. And going back to, the skeleton outline of what this looks like. One of the other
Mm-hmm.
things on the list is while you're deciding, I already talked about how make sure you get everything that you need before you let the other broker know, like your database.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things that you should do before signing that ICA and making that transition is, audit what you need to change because of this move. So that way, when you get over there, there are no blind spots. I mean, think about this: your social media platforms, your, realtor.com or Zillow accounts,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to everything else like your signage and your business cards.
Yeah.
It would be really wise to at least have a list to operate from so that way you can do your best to not miss anything.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's a
Yep.
good answer too. So all right, so last one. So they said, I am going to be switching brokerage firms here pretty soon. To be honest, it sucks knowing that all my clients have to stay with them, but I cannot sit and stir in the negativity. Has anyone else changed firms more than once? This is the second time I am changing firms, and it feels like I am starting all over again.
Mm.
Been a rough last few months, to say the least. Any tips to continue on would be helpful.
Wow. Okay. Um, so I think most agents have moved several times. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I'm not clear of what she means everyone has to stay there. It sounds like that's one of those dynamics where the ICA identified that her database remains.
Hmm.
Maybe they won't even let her download her list.
Hmm.
I don't know if she's already initiated the change and didn't extract that data beforehand because it sounds like maybe that's what's going on. And
Mm.
I have seen some brokerages try to hold hostage something like that, right? To
Hmm. Hmm.
keep an agent there. And guys, please read your ICAs. There are
Hmm.
some companies out there willing to stroke checks for you and the whole nine yards, but trust me, nothing comes for free.
Hmm.
Read that ICA. What does it look like in a company like that? How many years do you have to be there before that payment becomes a loan that you have to pay back? Or if they offer you some money towards business cards, does that restart the timeline on your contract? There's a lot of things going on there. Okay.
Hmm.
But going back to this person, that's horrible if it was something like that.
Hmm.
Again, I also think that this person's a little bought into or maybe has really been pushed with the idea that the consumer is more concerned about the brokerage than they are the agent. And I don't believe that.
Mm.
So, if these are people that she knows or has had some engagement with, I still think that she is the leader that would be able to win the client versus the company.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Here's another one. I just found okay, this is the last one. So I am currently with ABC Brokerage,
Hmm.
but the monthly fees, the split cap, so monthly fees slash split cap
Okay.
does not suit me at the moment.
Okay.
Parentheses, I have more tools, resources than I can consume.
Okay.
I am moving over to another broker with higher split and
Mhm.
no monthly fees.
Mm.
How do I let my team know without leaving any bad impression, as I would like to return in the future when I have built up a solid business? Dang, that's an interesting
That
one.
there's a lot of interesting things going on there. Okay, so
Yeah.
first and foremost, I think everyone that's listening to this can agree this person's experiencing financial hardship.
Mm.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because higher split, no or lesser monthly fee. Which one
Hmm.
was it? It was one of those two, right? Okay.
Yeah, he said I'm moving over to another broker with higher split and no monthly
Yeah.
fees. Hmm.
Okay. So it sounds to me like a drier pipeline because
Mm.
they're willing to pay on a higher split because they probably don't have anything coming up and they're just trying to negate paying anything per month. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're already on a team, so that's interesting. I would have thought that a team, at least one of the main reasons why people are in a team dynamic, is to have other consistency in terms of lead generation, right?
Mm.
Doesn't mean
Hmm.
the team's going to provide you leads, but with additional listings and answering, potentially sign calls or, there's a lot of different things that you can do around a team leader's production to get business. For
Hmm.
whatever reason, that wasn't working. That's unfortunate. Okay.
Hmm.
But what's really interesting to me is that when they build a business, they want to come back to the team. So that doesn't
Yeah.
line up either.
Hmm.
Um, I still think that I'm going to say a couple of comments here. I think this person really needs a business diagnostic. Do they even have a business plan?
Mm.
I would guess this is someone who was bought into a team dynamic that's going to feed them business. So why not pay the monthly shoot? If I pay $100 a month, but I'm making 10 grand a month that I wouldn't have made otherwise, and it's a win,
Hmm.
right? But they were sold a bag of goods that maybe isn't delivering on. Okay.
Yeah.
So then why am I spending this $100? That's maybe
Hmm.
the mentality.
Hmm.
Now, the other comment that I'll make is this, before I end, um, be careful what you ask for when you're moving to a new brokerage or a team. If you ask for leads, leads are simple. I could feed. We already talked about this. So,
Hmm.
are you asking the wrong questions because they're giving you what you asked for, but you're seeing it's not moving the ball forward on your income? Maybe
Hmm.
that's the case.
Hmm.
Finally, I am gonna say something that might be a hot take. I'm a big believer in the brokerages that charge a monthly fee if they're providing substantial tools. But the reason that I like the monthly fee is because, I mean, think about this, Cameron. I don't know who this agent is.
Hmm.
Where brokerages are really starting to falter is when they want to just have a race to the bottom. I'm not going to charge you anything. It's a flat fee, right? All of these different things because they don't see any as a brokerage. They seem to not have any value in themselves. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
But think about this. If a brokerage had a really solid offering of tools, technology, support, whatever it is, okay, that substantiated a cost that they were charging monthly. The
Hmm.
agents who are doing the right things to build their business and having success, they're going to stay because that usually that fee is a small fraction of what it would cost to get all of those things. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Hmm.
I'll
Yep.
give you a perfect example. Okay. KV Core, amazing CRM. Okay. It's one of the top echelon of CRMs in our industry.
Hmm.
It's a juggernaut, highly customizable, can do a bunch of stuff. Anyone can go get KV Core. It's an independent company. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
For an independent agent to go get KV Core, it's about $1,200 to set up and more than $500 a month.
Hmm.
And it's worth every single penny. I mean that if you use it correctly and you use it and you work. Okay.
Hmm.
Worth it. A company like eXp Realty charges $85 a month. And that's one of the systems that they give you is KV Core. Just one of them. That
Hmm.
right there substantiates the cost. All right. So again, usually a monthly fee is going to be a very small fraction of what it would cost for you to get all of those offerings.
Hmm.
Brokerages like that are smart because if an agent's not using the tools, not building their business, and they just want to extract out every penny they can from the onesie or twosie deals that they do,
Hmm.
they want them to go to the flat fee brokerages.
Mm.
They will drown them with their office space that they pay for that no one shows up for, with
Hmm.
the money they might pay for trainings or what have you, if there's any liability that that broker needs to face at some point, those 200 agents in that one office that do 1 or 2 deals a year, it does not make financial sense for them.
Mm.
That's why these companies are having a hard time. So if I'm looking at it from the broker perspective, I think having a monthly fee is a very wise approach to the business
Y-
now.
Any last advice or like any last words for, somebody who's considering switching brokerages who, they're doing a couple transactions, they're just not happy where they're at?
Okay. For anyone who's thinking about making a move, your move needs to really be focused on helping you penetrate from where you at to where you want to go.
Mm.
So, a different split isn't necessarily going to get you there, right? A
Hmm.
bunch of just random company trainings may not get you there. You may want to really look for the dynamic that we started with, a set of coaches or a coaching program specific to your situation,
Mm.
specific to the agent who is maybe newer to the business or just has never really cracked into or consistently made 100 grand or more. You're looking for that specific program to make sure it's teaching you those fundamentals, plugging in the holes for you in terms of assets that you need for your business, and the accountability so that you can understand what it looks like from someone in your position to finally start making the money that you're looking for. Furthermore, you want to make sure once that's done that there's more support. Because if you're going to change brokerages, I mean, I would love for people to find the right brokerage once and for all and build roots there, especially if it's the agent ownership brokerage. Why? Because they're helping you build something beyond just your commissions the longer you're with them in your career. So find that right one with the right dynamics that are going to help you in a program that's designed for you, right?
Hmm.
With results that are proven so that you can make that transition and then you can really see what the next goals are for you and how you're going to attain them.